Hello there. Fancy meeting you here. Let's see if I can do it like the pros real quick because I got my haul. I am going to set this down. I could even say happy St. Patrick's Day to you guys. It wasn't a happy one for me, hence a day later, or two. I totally planned on dressing up and doing this for St. Patrick's Day, but in very Irish form, Grandma Buckmeyer would do that. You thought, thank God I have something to do. Seriously, thank you, because I don't know how I'm going to do this one, because I know it's important to share the lesson, but I also know that my children are watching, so this is going to affect them too. So, let me sharpen my knives first. Make sure I'm using it right. One. Yeah. Sorry for the noise. I should have done this before, but this one's quiet. Anyway, where were we? Oh. So, I got a phone call the morning before St. Patrick's Day. And the most Irish woman I know. My mother is Kathy, and my grandmother, my mother's mother, is Jane Buckmeyer, born Jane Sheridan, who was not only present when I was born. I don't like adding the juices. Some people do, but I don't. I usually rinse my brisket. I'm making corned beef and cabbage while I talk to you, because even though it was hard this year, I still gotta make with the traditions and remember what was most important to my very heritage and that of my children's. So the point I was going to make was, when my mother was pregnant with me, she was 15 and running the streets. So I basically lived, constantly was taken and dropped off and left for however long with my grandma, her mother, who was pregnant with, my mom was pregnant with her first at 15. My grandma was pregnant with her 10th at the same time. And so technically my Aunt Amy is my aunt, but I'm actually 29 days older than her. I was born December 6th, 76, and she was born January 4th, 1977. And many times my grandmother would remind me that she used to breastfeed me when she was a baby. In fact, we have it on VHS tape. When Tatiana was born, my mother was present because I had seizured and was completely lights out. So she called an ambulance, and my mother on VHS and my grandmother, because I was under anesthesia, they took her out quick, was being congratulated by the nurses, and we're both right there in the NICU with Tatiana while I was being, sewn up. But my point is, her having 10 children, my mom being the oldest of the 10, I knew she was going on, getting older. I had done the Nana and Nanu, ironically, for the other side of my culture and heritage, ironically. And I figured, hopefully, Lord willing, that would be the last funeral, for quite some time. But I had to thank him. I mean, for her to pass St. Patrick's Day, I mean, and the most beautiful thing, it comes to light that Grandma and Grandpa, after Tatiana was born, I being the first grandchild to them, and Tatiana being the first great grandchild to them, she wanted to make sure that me and Tatiana too specifically was going to make the journey to Ireland. So she came up with a really neat idea years ago, and the gift that she left her is, I mean, so symbolic and beautiful that Tatiana is going to be so touched. But that instead of leaving ashes, they collectively said they wanted to turn them to seeds, because when we take each of them, Grandma, Grandpa, Uncle Pat, Coley, that because when we would go to throw, it's private land mostly, and you have to get permission, and people are a little off-putting about you throwing ashes in their land. So I remember my well, anyway, let me finish what I'm saying and then I'll go to that. But the point is, you can turn them into seeds now, so that way if they're cast into the sea, it's the idea of they can grow into be kelp or some kind of plant undersea, or they can be washed ashore and have a little bit of sun, a little bit of sea, and a little bit of grow into some plant on shore. But my grandma lots of times was, Ireland is an independent, sovereign country, she would remind me. And, strict, and they have their ways of doing things, but that is where she came from. And she parted, life in San Diego, and she simply wants, as do her husband and her son and daughter-in-law, want to be back, where they came from. But it's important to know that the island is geographically divided into two parts: Ireland, the country, and Northern Ireland. It's important because it's a separate jurisdiction, with the United Kingdom consisting of, 6 countries. And Ireland, from the island, and then there's Ireland and the United Kingdom. So, like, if we go there, which we will, to do this thing, but plus, get the opportunity to visit there, and we will see how things are, and like she wants, and it's bittersweet now, So anyway, I'm gonna get my stuff together and stop talking. I got all the goods over here, and what I need to do is be over here so I can chop them up. But so I had seen her before she went to Florida, and then afterwards, and she was doing great. She was with my Aunt Jane because Uncle Rich had retired from the NFL. He last was in Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe. And they have a great big house out there, where Grandma could be watched much closer. She shouldn't be left home alone so much anymore. And wait for it, though. Do I have to tell them all of it? The day after Grandma Buckmeyer died and she was removed, my Aunt Jane's house is large and lovely, their 30-year home, burnt to the ground. Papa God, of course, asked me before I could ask him, because when I got that, first Jane called and gave me the playback of saying she went into Grandma Buckmeyer's room and went close and could see that she was discolored, wondering why she was kind of still sleeping later in the morning. And that's not like her. And she was cold and stiff, and she knew instantly and burst into tears and called out, "Hey, Rich, give me the phone so I can call Kathy and then Krista." Kathy being, remember, my mother. My mother didn't answer in true form, but I did. And then when her son got in touch with me, I'm telling you, it was like a day later, he said, "Jump on Facebook Live." And I said, "Why? Just tell me what's going on." And it was a clear images of their house burning down. And fortunately, even their pets didn't make it out alive. They had 2 dogs for many years and a cat. I don't know how many years they had that, but all went in on. So I just was like, "Why did that happen?" And he said, "Why do you think that happened?" And I said, "Because they let the secret go, like to the grave." And he said, "Yes. Because there's this rumor about me, about my mother, about the truth of possibly even, who my mother had this game. She thought it was so much fun to play my whole life of, who's your daddy, or claiming different people were my father. So as you can imagine, that was fun. Now I use the season pack that comes with it, but I always add obviously my own herbs too. I'm going to cut this pack open because I am putting it in the crock pot over here, as well as going to fill with water. I always said when I got my own house, I was going to get like that thing you can put over your stove to put water in your pots when you need it. I don't know what it's called. I'll have to look it up. But anyway, I am going to put like a quarter way of water in and set it on my trusty crock pot and cut the rest of these herbs. So we now have this, thing to do. So I took, obviously, day to cry and stuff. I just overwhelmed by life. But now I'm going to smash up some garlics and show you guys how I prepare the traditional corned beef and cabbage that we have every year on or about, St. Patrick's Day. And it's slightly changed a little bit over the years. Mostly just like the herbs and the seasonings, what people like, versus like obviously the meat or the carrots or the onions. We certainly aren't going to remove the cabbage either. Cabbage is actually healthy for you. In fact, I have another dish. I always have so much left over. Cabbage, carrots, and onions. And I go, what do I make with the leftovers? But let me first, chop this stuff up. So, where was I? Anyway, just the irony, obviously on St. Patrick's Day, it's more than irony. It's literally, I mean, this is the woman, this is our actual, our culture. She started generations of her own, but came over here to America to do it. And always meant to go back and never got a chance. I mean, she had so many children and then so many grandchildren. But she had it in her heart and must have keep adding to it over the years, because she knows that I've never been and doesn't want me to not go, and doesn't want that for Tatiana and CJ, and now, Isaiah being named after Grandpa Buckmeyer. That's where Alexander comes from. And then, Whittle, as well as the other children, apparently having. So, it's tough for me. It's just tough, I put to rest the mourning of one or another, and then another one goes. And I'm telling you, I couldn't predict how this was going to go. Suddenly, all the memories that came flashing back, my childhood, was all with her. Well, Nana and Nanu, obviously, and Grandma Moran, but they were nice. They shared us. Me being the oldest, though, so they had to be nice, take turns, right? And then I was quick to want to just get my kids introduced and get them all, nestled into that. I'm gonna make the large one and keep, I think, the small ones for the other recipe. So we got our garlic, we got our onions. Depending on my mood, I will shave off usually the bits of the carrot, because to me, you can't, like I said, me, I never seem to think I can see a carrot clean, even if you're washing them. To me, they always just still look dirty. Poor Grandma Moran. It reminds me, when I was little, she did everything to get me to want to love spinach, but God love her, she always made it, and they're fresh, she grew it, so it was fresh, and she just wasn't the best in washing the grit out. Every time I bit into it, I always tasted like sand or grit, and it would just be a complete turnoff. And she tried put it in eggs and, meats and soups, and to me, it just, and seafood even, ironically. All the men in my family were fishermen, and same thing. There was just an issue with washing off. Now, as an adult, I don't have that problem. I don't love them any less, but I get my seafood without grit and make many dishes, and I use spinach fresh in dishes and with no grit, So, you probably have things you remember when you were a kid that were very specific like that you'd remember, your favorite cereal, your even if you claim you don't, like her a whole lot right now, have special memories of your mom, things that, that she did that you always remember that you liked, maybe something that you didn't like, but I bet you probably a lot more of what you did like than what you didn't like. Just like with, your father and your grandparents, your cousins, you know. Just cutting through these carrots carefully while I'm talking to you. And me, I'm not picky on like how the carrots are. God love her too. That's another thing. Grandma Moran was big about eat carrots because, you know, you'll have better eyesight. You won't ever have to wear glasses. She never wore glasses. She always ate carrots. Me, I don't like carrots, truth be told. Hence, maybe why I now have glasses sometimes. Only sometimes when I have to take medicine or after treatment. But the most part is, she was right about the carrots. It did come along to me, though, in some way, did it, glasses, because of my dislike. I'm just going to throw all this in the crock pot. Onions, and then I'm just going to sweep the garlic. And we're going to turn this bad boy on. Let it start cooking. I like to do it like 12 hours overnight so it really gets flavorful. We get one of these really big green onions out of here. And chop some of that too. And then we'll season it up. I guess you say, is that tears? Or is that because it's onions? I'm kind of sad because I would have liked my kids to see Grandma Buckmeyer as well, some more, but that's secret. But I almost know. He's even shown me a couple times, and but I have not had it confirmed, and I just can't fathom. I can't fathom it to the point where I can't even tell you guys what, because I just feel like it hasn't been confirmed. Well, I mean, he's shown me a dozen times, but in the craziest ways. Like there was a let me get my cabbage. I remember Grandma Buckmeyer yelling down the hallway because she had a really big house because she had 10 kids. Boil me some potatoes. That was her. That's what she would do. She'd be calling from her throne for someone to boil her potatoes. That was her thing. So, in her honor, I'm also gonna switch to red potato even, because that's the one that she preferred when people, I always, of course, jump to do it. And just boil the red ones and then put a bunch of butter on it and salt. And she would just be giving me kisses, and she always said, "Oh, I got something for you over there." And she was a trip because she would go on garage sales and estate sales like no one's business. She had to when she had all those kids to save money. You know, I'm sure it's for the clothing and toys and shoes, and who knows, you know, how much it could, because she was so good at it and always knew where to go get the deals. So she was able to, even when I would come over with Tatiana and CJ, you know, when we come back to visit when we were in Virginia, we came back because his best friend was getting married. And she, you know, Tatiana and CJ would come in the room faster than me saying, "Hi, Grandma." Grandma say, "Oh, I was just thinking about you kids. I got you guys a couple of gifts. Let me go dig them up." So that was her love language. Her love language was affirmations of love, because she always, just like Grandma Moran, only spoke loving, a little nosy, mean, situation with Cliff and stuff, but, you know, very direct. If she had a question for me, she'd ask it, and I would answer it. I felt comfortable enough with both my grandmas to, you know, actually my Nana and Nana too, but luckily they didn't ask those big questions. Like, my grandma's dead. My Nana was my great grandma. So, these are a little sweeter than the brown potatoes. So, probably from now on, make it this way, because I forgot about her way until, like I said, past 2 days, it's just got to be you that's doing it, you know, flooding me with memories. I remembered suddenly things I had thought I completely forgot about for years. You know, even after the birth of my kids, you know, and my childhood and their childhood, and, you know, because at first, you know, I was very young and would bring, you know, be at my grandma's house with Tatiana all the time, because I was a young, you know, pregnant, and then mommy, and she had no bad feelings about it. She didn't give me no problems. My aunts and uncles loved it. Of course, we're really close too, like more like siblings, I'd say. So then I'm going to go and add my herbs before I put the lid on. It's been set. Well, I thought it was, but I can just set it. Set it and forget it, is what we say. Right? But we'll make sure we put a good amount, but not too much, of the other seasonings. That's garlic powder, and then we got some parsley flakes. We got a little bit of the white pepper. Ooh, this should be good for the other one as well. There's some traditional salt. I like get scared of doing too much. It's very, very slow coming out, but I want it to stay that way, so it doesn't. I don't want it to suddenly dump, but it's not. It's stuck like that, and I leave it there for that reason. And then we got some paprika. Put some in there. And we got some black pepper. Way too much. That was better. And then a little turmeric. Which is very strong. So be careful. You only want like a 1/4 teaspoon of each of the herbs that I called out. You know, you kind of just gotta eyeball it. And of course I got seasoned salt. I'm gonna keep them all out though, because I'm gonna do another dish. But we're gonna get the lid that's hiding. Anyway, I feel so bad for Gina Rich. You know, I've been praying for them. And, you know, I told them I don't judge them. I don't know what she knows or what she doesn't know, but she certainly hinted about it to me and had a clear opportunity to bring it out. But she even clearly said, you know, we left that to your mother. That's for your mother to tell you. So, I don't know why I put that lid on and realized I forgot the cabbage. It's like tough to get. I don't like the middle. I know I sharpened my knife. I don't know why I'm struggling. So I just pour out the middle like so. Because to me, it becomes, it's too strong. You know, it's not flavor, it's just, I don't know if you guys, it's kind of like eating a raw, I don't know, ginger root or raw onion even. You know, you love them cooked, but you probably wouldn't pick it up and eat it like an apple raw. Cabbage, we don't do that either, but you get my point. This is just the more taste, like strong tasting part of it. I always like to cut out. Anyway, I'll put that much. Now, truth be told, a lot of this is not going to go in right now, especially the outer parts. I like to fry my cabbage, but I do put some in the pot as well. But my favorite is to put butter in a pan and fry up the cabbage. Grandma Buckmeyer showed me that when I was a kid. And I tell you, I've been in love ever since. That is just the way I do it. And see, these pieces, I just won't use. Which is why, hence, I got 2 heads of cabbage. And they were pretty small because everybody wants cabbage right now this week for what, right? So it's harder to come by. But I'm willing to just grab 2 small heads. Because I don't want, like, you know, you see how much of this I've been pulling off, right? This is like, that's what it is. It reminds me of cauliflower, and I'm not a cauliflower person. My glasses up, I don't even need them right now. I don't like cauliflower, so I think that's why I also don't like it, because to me it's similar to cauliflower. I think I'll put like all of that in there. Try to debate how much to. I always change my mind on. Wait, let me take the lid off first. And it's on high, right? Yes, it is. So, let me put all of this in a bag. So that way when I am ready to pull it out, I will. We're going to use this. I'm not going to use that either. Just stick it in the bag for now. Trash. I'll even dump that out. Throw that out. Save that. Let's just try it later. Let's pull out the goods for let me just just make sure I have, because I'm like, if I've got carrots, I've got all this extra cabbage and onion, pancit. But I need to make sure I have the right noodles. And I know I checked at the store. They were out. So I do have these. Let me see, I don't remember. Just boil them and then put them, soak them. They tell you to soak for 10 minutes, but for me personally, I don't like al dente, which is code for not cooked all the way, where they tell you to just soak it and it will be al dente, and they say just, you know, throw it in the pot with your sauce, but I don't like al dente for this, especially this kind of noodles. So what I do, if it will let me, these are wheat. That's them. That's what they look like. I thought that was like a wrapper or something. I thought that was like wrappers they were in, but no, those are the noodles. All right. Oh shit! I'm gonna pull them not quite that apart. Oh, they're kind of in chunks for each meal. All right, let me see. All right, I'll start boiling them because we're gonna be making our pancit. I think I'll even cut up some of the cilantro for the corned beef. So we're gonna boil them, and then we're gonna let them soak for 10 minutes in their own water while they're cooling, to give them the soaking up their own water like you're supposed to, without heat. But I boil them and bring the heat and then cool them off. Still soaking in their, you know, stuff. That. The only thing I need is probably a big old pan. I got stashed back here. I have just so much stuff. Alright, let me toss the rest of this out, because we are on to the next. I'm going to go ahead and put these away. I took out the amount that I want, because I only want to make that amount. I haven't had those before, so I don't quite trust them. I'm going to make that small amount, and if that doesn't work out, I can always just pull out some of, like, it's like angel hair, which is pretty close to what make dun 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 classic pancit with. So cabbage on my face, slaying away at it, just chopping it all over. I'm going to even stick a little in the crock pot, because I think it's going to get jealous. It's going to say, uh-oh, you forgot me. If you got a little more of those good tasting herbs, I want some. So I pick off the leaves, tasty little parts that I use, and then I put all the stems in the trash, or sometimes if I want to add even more flavor, I never hang on to them to another meal, but sometimes I'll even dice up the cilantro stems and throw them in a meal. That's usually when I do like soups though. when it comes to pancit and corned beef, we don't need that strong of cilantro flavors. We just want a little kick, a hint of it, not, full cold clocking someone with a big sharp bite full of cilantro, especially in meals where you don't expect it. Technically, I don't think you're even supposed to put it in there. Do they put it in the pancit? I don't know. Message me below. Let me know. Do you have your own ways with cilantro? Mixing cultures sometimes with it, putting in maybe even stuff that you wouldn't normally, but just because you have tons of freshness of it, if you have tons of it, you'll add it to this and add it to that where you may not normally put it. I know that I do, especially when I have it fresh like that, because the downside is it goes bad so fast. I hate wasting. My pet peeves are wasting food and littering. Those are my pet peeves. It's a no bueno for me. It's a no bueno. So now we're talking Spanish now, because we got the Mexican herbs we're thinking of to add to our meal. I should say plural now, right? We're supposed to be on to the next. But I can't help but think, you know what? Who cares? Let's put a little cilantro, just a little bit, in there with the corned beef. Let's just see what happens. So let's set this aside, because I know it's an onion I need. There's one right there. That looks like a good guy. I'll fast forward it if it gets boring. I always wonder about standing time. Sometimes I get so caught up in favorite thing I love to do that I forget I'm even talking to someone. Whew! I went to smell that onion, I don't know why. And now I got, whoa. It must be the cilantro. Oh yeah. Yum. I could put cilantro on anything and eat it. Eggs. Any kind of stew. You don't want something to taste bland. Throw some cilantro in it to the dish. No one says you have to follow word for word. I got my handwritten recipe book out, because sometimes, not corned beef and cabbage, but sometimes other things I want to make or do, I forget, and I look back at my notes, or Grandma's notes or Nana's notes, or whoever's notes adds to this book. Let's cut out if they'll let me. This is for after the pancit's cooked, though. I know that much, so I'm going to leave that for the last second. I'm going to focus more, though, on, I know I'm a brat. The least amount of carrot, the better. Oh. I'm not saying that Aunt Jane and Rich deserved that. I can't even imagine what they're going through. Putting it all together. We know a little bit what it's like when I lost all my storage. I'd give anything just for the pictures, the photo albums, the baby books, the CDs and the DVDs of my children's lives, basically, up until the littlest one. But anyway, I keep asking God, please tell me that you have it in somebody's house that they couldn't bear to throw it away, and that someday they'll just put it out there that they're wondering who they belong to, and it just somehow comes back to us. I don't know. I mean, he knew I was going to be a chosen one, but back then I didn't. Anyway, we have certainly made a point to make a lot more memories now. I mean, everybody's got their phones out taking pics, right? I want to, when we move to the big house all together, again, I want to put a wall up, you know, of each kid, and then have like a certain area for family photo, you know, family that's passed, things like that. Not just for me, but for my spouse and his children as well. So, let's get the pan going, because I want to... Oh, I'm glad I turned around just in time. Look at that. Thank you, Papa. Just in time you had me turn around. This was going to spill over. So grateful. So thankful. Thank you, Papa. All right. Of course, I got another cabbage too here. The soy sauce is for... You know what I do need, though, actually, is... Not to eat like that. We don't do it like that. I think that's enough carrot. I mean, I don't mind. It's just me, but I think I'll do that. Maybe I'll make like a half amount for me, and then cut up all the other stuff later and make another batch for everybody else. Let's see, so we got the onion. And then we need a couple of garlic cloves for this one too. This one I don't want to dice, I want real big pieces. I need to set all of this aside because I still want to debone and deskin the chicken. You can do chicken, you can do pork. I might throw a few shrimp in there. It just depends on my mood sometimes. But it's one of those versatile dishes that, you know, that's the yuck part. We'll throw that one away. What can we put away and get rid of? These only need one. Let me see. I need a place to put this. Alright, how about this? We'll say you over here. You over here. little trash pot there too. Right there. I know I gotta do the chicken. So let me put a little oil in this pan. Some of these herbs. And I won't turn it on quite yet because I need to debone. This will do. This chicken. And because I want to be able to make pappardelle later, I will go ahead. I just took the groceries. I already thought that I was cool because I did a small grocery haul and was able to do 2 meals. I just thought up a third one off the top of my head right now. I'm going to save the cut up. We're going to debone, deskin, all of the chicken. And save that goodness for some pappardelle. Yes, it's Grandma Buckmeyer. It's Grandma Morant, and it's Nana and Nanu Tarantino. We're all together in this haul. I didn't even know it. He did. I didn't. I just pulled the skin off and throw in a pot. I get in here close to the bone so I can just weave it off like that. And you got a big old, no, that's gristle. We're throwing that out. But that's not. Neither is. Make sure we get most of it off. And then we put part of the chicken, even saved for pappardelle too, but for sure we saved in the bones, cartilage, all that kind of good stuff because it makes some hell of a good pappardelle. It's a family reunion in my kitchen right now. Everybody's coming together. Well, at least in spirit, right? But you realize when I tell you these stories that are true, I never tell you false, you realize, you know, what makes up the person that you're talking to, that you're looking at, that you're listening to. I think you appreciate them more because you didn't realize certain things about them, even what their culture was, or, you know, how they learned to do some of the talents that they have, or spiritual gifts that were passed on for sure when it comes to certainly my kids. And not even just with my 3 older, but with the baby too. And his plan is for us to do just that. He wants repentance. I know Grandma Buckmeyer probably spoke it daily to herself, but, you know, why things happen. You know, he told me why it happened with the house. And then he said that's what he wants for me and, you know, Walter is to repent and start off life as it was supposed to be so that we can all come back together. because he wants things done his way, his plan for our lives, not ours. And when we do it our way, it opens the doors sometimes for havoc to come in. Ask me how much you think I like when that happens. So, I'm all for it. Where do I sign up? Someone send that memo to Walter while you're at it, okay? Now, it has been a minute, but I'm sure this is going to be quick. So I am going to bring you over to the stove. Let me check these noodles real quick again now, because we got to make sure these are going to turn out. I'm not going to be able to make a whole lot of nada. Never made these before. Wheat. Really? I don't even remember what they were. See, I like them chewy. They're still al dente. That's when you're supposed to rinse them with cold water and let them sit, but not me. I'm going to let them really, really cook. We're going to turn on a burner. Cabbage, carrots, and soy sauce. So, I'm going to put the stuff over here, and then I'm going to bring you over here with me. I know that the carrots take the longest to cook, so we're going to let those for sure in. Right, I can even dice. I'm gonna wash my hands so I can move you guys. I think I'm pretty much done with over here. Let me put all of this over here so I can cut it up and put you guys. I don't want to mess up my phone. Let's put you down here. Hopefully you can be able to see. I need to get that watermelon and eat it too because I think it's going to run bad. But here we go. Let's dice up this meat that we're going to use real quick. It can be real big chunky bites. Big pieces, I mean. Because, you know, chicken always shrinks anyway. So don't worry about being perfect. But we threw oil and garlic in the pan. I threw my carrots in there because carrots are hard. Take longer to cook than any of the meal, really. Now, I'm not too sure about those noodles yet, what's going on, but it's meant to be, it'll work out. I'll just add cold water as soon as they taste chewy to me, and I think it's going to work out perfectly in time because I haven't even started to cook all this chicken yet, so it gives me extra time, right? So let's grab all this and just throw it in there. Literally. My kids loved when I make batches of this stuff when they were kids. They'd come home from school, don't gotta worry about if there's anything to eat or snack on because Mom's got leftovers in the fridge waiting. Calling me my name, even. They love crock pot meals too, because see, Walter does too. because it keeps on cooking, and he would be, checking on it before it was cooked all the way or while it was still cooking, like my kids. And then try not to fry up my cutting board. And then, I would just leave the leftovers in there and turn it on warm for like a day or so to keep it warm. So especially if it was cold outside, like windy or rainy, my kids would come in and they'd be able to have, soup or stew or whatever it was they made. Now, I don't measure stuff, but I would say that's probably like 3 tablespoons, because there's so much to cook. You got the meat, the herbs, still got the cabbage to add in. And then I'm going to pull this up so I can add the herbs to it after I wash my hands real quick. And then it might vary on the soy sauce, because I'll make a small dish with this before I make a big one. Let me check again. Please. Oops. Forgive the mess. I just had everything out. I just went grocery shopping, and now I'm like condensing stuff that I have trying to figure out. My thing right now is sauces. I'm buying all kinds of sauces. Sauces from here, sauces from there. I can tell that's a dente right now. Right there already. But I wouldn't like that end of it. But this, I might. Okay, now I'm going to turn it off and add cold water. Now it's closer to. Alright, let's go in there with some half tablespoon white pepper. No parsley. Paprika will do. About a half teaspoon. More like a teaspoon. Paprika. Not a half. That's fine. That's just fine. It'll come out just fine. Some turmeric. More than enough. I don't think I'm dipping into like tablespoons, but I think it's because I just remembered that's how the meat gets seasoned too, remember? And all those veggies have to be. Oh, that's way too much. Come on now. I wasn't saying all that much. Alright. Black pepper. Really careful, because I have bouillon somewhere paste, but hell if I know where it is right now. I just bought these cool sauces, and I'm so excited to try That's another thing about traveling you get to do, right? But right now, cooking-wise, I feel like I'm traveling. I feel like I just came off my broomstick, right? Because I got some sweet and sour. Better than that, I got orange sauce. The P.F. Chang now comes out with the sesame sauce, sweet chili, orange, and sweet and tangy. And I'm like, yay. Oh, powder, no, right? See, I can't be distracted. Then I forget. A little onion powder. All this, all that. See, it always looks like I'm going to dump it, but it doesn't. And it barely comes out. That's on purpose. I'm going to leave it like that. I like it like that. You can never tell me I oversalt. Once upon a time, but not anymore. I become, after having high blood pressure, I had to become more aware of my salt intake. Why do I feel like I'm missing something? Oh, the cabbage, that's right. So let's put this on the back burner and let it fry up a little bit since I've added the seasonings and it is not at all cooked chicken. I love how it gives it that yellow hue. Don't judge me. But sometimes I think I use certain spices because I like how it changes the color even of the food. Other spices change the texture, believe it or not, or even herbs too. And also the way you cook them. But kind of reminds me of, what is that I'm thinking of that turns things color? Paprika doesn't do it. What is it that does it? I can't remember, but we're definitely cooking from another country now, or from cooking foods from another country now, because it's got this yellow hue. What is it that does it? I can't remember. I don't know why I can't remember, but you're gonna let that cook for like 5 minutes. You're gonna let these keep deciding what texture they want to be. Oh yeah, this is the texture I like. Perfect. Now I'm gonna strain them. You were gonna let me forget to cut up the cabbage, weren't you? Let's take the part I don't like out. Like that. No, then we're not eating that. Fill a little water, quarter cup of water. I just do that so it doesn't burn. I know that the veggies will. Oops. I am the worst lately with doing that. Getting my cutting board too close to the pan. So, take all of this goodness and stick it right in the pot or pan. And it's going to condense down while we strain our noodles. As it cooks, we all know it shrinks. But for now, it looks like you can't fit anything in the pot.